Well, good morning, house guests. We are just running a couple minutes late. I apologize, but good morning. Today's episode is going to be on haunted diners or haunted restaurants that you can actually frequent. Um, so I thought that would be appropriate for a Friday. My apologies. I'm just trying to get the chat ready for us. All right. So, like we do every episode, we do a little bit of tarot. And I know that I have been really bad about following up to what I think the messages are, but I'm going to do a video on basically the collection of all of them. Um, and then, we'll see what we got or get. But let me know what you think of, this reading. So, I love my designs and honestly, I love my crosses. So we're just doing a little shuffle, shuffle. Maybe a little flippity flop. Again, you just see, and I'm only doing this with one hand because we're live. But you shuffle until something in you tells you to stop, or you just get tired of shuffling. Either way, like I said, we generally use gut instinct working in healthcare. It's actually really important and taught that, you'll get a sense of when things can go south. I know I have. Can just step in a building and know it's not going to be a good day. But anyways, cut my deck one last time. Do my little flippity flop. Okay. And you guys know I like to do my star or the pentagram design. I start from the bottom left, I go around, and then I go into the middle. I find that that's appropriate because I have been told that I am a star child, and we can talk about that in another episode, which might explain why I experience so much paranormal activity in my life. Is maybe because someone told me once that I was a star child, and maybe that's true. So we have the reverse hanged man. Whoops, I'm even writing that wrong. Okay. What do you think so far? The devil. What cards did I pull? And it's really, I'm just going to put today's message. That's all. That's just the general question. Today's message. So, whatever you guys get from it, let me know in the chat. What are you guys thinking so far? Ace of Wands. I will tell you that devil does concern me a little bit. But I know it's not all that is what we see, if that makes sense. Okay, we got our Ace of Wands. What do you think so far of the spread? Okay. Reverse High Priestess. And like I said, I write all of these down. And I will get back into doing free tarot readings. So if you're watching this, you can email angelholdings84 at gmail for a free reading. And if you have any ghost stories, go ahead and submit those too. And then we have the reverse, the lovers. And I wrote this wrong. Reverse. I hope these cards are not speaking to me, because I am going through it, or I'm at a crossroads at least. I don't know about you. Reverse Knight of Wands. So what do you guys think of the spread so far? I should probably put today's date. Okay. So, what do you think? Okay. So now that we have everybody kind of tucked in or settled in, today's episode is entitled Haunted Dining. Now, I'm a foodie, so food and some paranormal I thought would be a great idea, right? But sometimes that's not always the case. So tonight we'll talk about the 3 restaurants that I have been to that are haunted, and that um, I've experienced actual activity while dining, which was quite terrifying. And of course, everybody missed it. But so we're going to go over Noyo Harbor Inn in Mendocino County, California. We'll also go over the Delta King in Sacramento, California. And then we'll also talk about the Oxford Saloon in Snohomish County, Washington. Okay. And then I have a couple more haunted dinings that you guys can try or frequent. If you have stories of a haunted restaurant, a haunted dining, even, hey, we were at dinner and we experienced this paranormal activity, go ahead and put it in the chat. I would love to hear from you guys. Okay. So I'll go from the foodie perspective all the way down. Okay. So I would have to say Noyo Harbor, and I have a hard time saying that, is probably the best upscale dining that I've had in a hotel. I mean, it was phenomenal. And I think what made it so great was the room service. So, like, because you didn't have to leave your room and you didn't have to leave your bed. Um, but as far as the backstory of Noyo Harbor, Noyo Harbor is on the harbor, and it overlooks, the bay and Mendocino, and it's absolutely gorgeous. You should see it in moonlight. I mean, in moonlight and fog. Oh, it is so creepily romantic. But the backstory with Noyo Harbor is in the 1860s. I believe there was a bride and groom that were driving along that road and somehow perished. And it is noted that he or she was dressed in red. And then I think there is some other activity of hearing noises, things like that. I will tell you what me and my friend experienced. And I really think that my friend experienced the worst. We check in, and of course, my friend has to request the haunted room. And she's not even shy about it, you know? And I'm a little bit embarrassed because I'm like, really? You specifically rented this room so that we could do paranormal stuff? Like, how crazy. But anyways, so the desk clerk was kind of just like joking lightheartedly, and she's like, oh, we don't have that, and that's just a rumor, blah blah blah, and da da da. And then she gives us the key to room 7. And we're kind of disappointed, like, oh, whatever. Kind of dismissed it, like maybe that's what she has to say to keep her job. Like, really, is she gonna say, yeah, this room is haunted? you know? Um, so we go up to room 7. We put in our key. It's not electronic. This thing was built in the like 1860s, so it's updated to a point, but it's not updated to a point. They kept the like the doors and the locks or whatever. So, anyways, I put in my key and it spins in the lock like several times, so that I was like, why isn't this catching? And then my friend tries it and it spins for her. So then I'm like, oh my God, we're going to get blamed for like this lock and this door and blah, 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 blah. So go downstairs and I'm like, the key is spinning. I think the lock is broken. And she's like, no, just go ahead and try it again. But then she looks at me and she's like, it's starting. Like, she whispers it. And so I go back up, I try it again, and it catches. And then we go into this gorgeous room, like large bed. I believe there was a fireplace in it, big TV, just wood everywhere. Gorgeous. Outlooking the bay, gorgeous. Um, and it was an uneventful evening. Room service, phenomenal. Phenomenal. I will chow down. I will order everything on the menu and just take a bite, like it's Master Chef or something like that. And I'm a taste tester. So it was uneventful, and we decided to go for a walk in the middle of the night. Prior to this, I was trying to get like recordings and things like that set up, but like the batteries were dead and they weren't charging, and I was like, "Blah, I'm not even gonna mess with it." So we went for a walk, but when we got out of the room, it was like you walked into this cloud of perfume. It was just like wafting, and it smelled like lavender. But anyways, we go walking downstairs, we go outside, we wander the grounds. It's not creepy. You would think that wandering the grounds at night would be creepy, but it wasn't. We go back up to the room, and I noticed that there was no smell and there's no air freshener around to make that smell. Because because I was just like thinking, oh, where is the air freshener? I'm not smelling it. So I thought that was weird. But anyways, we go to bed. Nothing happens overnight. And then it's like 6 or 7 in the morning. And, we kind of start waking up. We're both parents. So, we always got to wake up early anyway. So that's just how our bio clock worked. So I thought she was up. And all of a sudden she's like, F you. Like, she yells it and she jumps out of bed. And I thought maybe she's fighting with her husband because they they were in this middle of a tiz. And I casually said, "What's wrong?" And mind you, we're sharing the same bed, but we're on opposite sides. And she's like, "Something just touched me. A hand just touched me." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "I felt it, and I felt its fingers." And she was really frightened, and she went to go grab her cigarettes or whatever. And I'm like, wait, turn on the lights, turn on the TV, turn on the Disney Channel. And then I'm thinking, oh my God, she's going to leave me here. But like nothing, I didn't experience anything, but she was seriously freaked out. So she goes downstairs for a while. I experience nothing. We do breakfast. I decide that I'm going to pass some time and sew some aprons for a Halloween party I was doing. How appropriate, right? Haunting and yeah. Anyways, and mind you, my hair was wet, and I thought that played a key factor initially, but I felt tugging on my shirt. And then I look around, nothing. And mind you, my friend is in the room and I'm just trying to be chill. I don't say anything. And then I feel tugging again. And I look around and I'm like, okay. And then I just plainly feel a hand on my low back. And I knew it wasn't my hair. Like I thought it was my hair previously. It definitely was not my hair. So I had enough of that experience because that was quite frightening. And I basically said, "Hey, let's go. I'm done here." So that's the Noyo Harbor. Next is the Delta King. Wonderful food, huge portions. I mean, like you'll have leftovers for like days. So they're very, very generous on their portions. Let me warn you. But the food is excellent. Drinks are good. Um, and unfortunately, I do have to say this small detail. It's not a dig against them. It's just part of the story, and these things can happen, and I don't fault them. And I'm so sorry if I offended the spirit, and you'll understand why. So my experience in the Delta King. I initially went on the Delta King as part of a paranormal staycation for my birthday, and that'll be a different episode. But um that's how I found out about it. And the Delta King is a riverboat, it's a hotel, it's a restaurant, a bar. It's a tourist attraction in Old Sacramento. So you have Sacramento, and then you have the specific, I guess, touristy place, Old Sacramento. Anyway, it was uneventful, but the food was phenomenal. So I knew that the Delta King was haunted. It was the cliche thing, a woman, the captain, things like that. So, um, I totally lost my train of thought. Okay, so anyways, so I decided to go again to see if maybe I can have a paranormal experience. I went on purpose and I went um with my husband. So we're sitting there and I order a drink, and the drink came with a small fruit fly, and I don't fault them. It's probably common. And so I asked for a different one, and I got like a totally different drink because I figured maybe I would get a different result with a different fruit. And so I got a different drink, and the drink arrived with our food. Okay. And my husband was starving, so he immediately digs into his food. But I see my drink and I want to start with my drink and then eat later. So I had to kind of stand up and reach over the table to get my new drink. And this drink moved towards me. I'm going to move these cards so you guys can see it. But it moved towards me like several inches. Here, and you know what? I'll even demonstrate. Say it was like right here. It moved like quite a distance. Um, and I was so scared that I couldn't even talk. And I tried. Like I was like just And my husband didn't notice, of course, because he was too busy, dug into his cheeseburger. And then he's funny, like, what? And then I was like, did you not see it move? And he was like, what? And I'm like, it moved. It moved far. And he was like, no, I'm sorry. I was in my cheeseburger. And I was like, we came here for the sole purpose of paranormal activity and you missed it. And I needed a witness. And he was like, I believe you. And I'm like, that doesn't count because you didn't see anything. So if you want good portions, if you want a paranormal experience, try the Delta King. Let me know what you think. And if anybody in the comments has been to the Delta King, let me know and let me know your experience. And then lastly, we have the Oxford Saloon in Snohomish, Washington. I will commend them on their steaks. It's pretty good. Let me pull up this article. So the great thing about the Oxford Saloon is that the staff actually has a binder of stories. Their stories, I believe diner stories, binders. Like this place is really active in paranormal activity. Did I experience any paranormal activity? Unfortunately not, but check it out, ask them, and they will have it and they will give it to you. And I do believe the story goes is that they are not allowed to leave like the bar area or be in the bar area by themselves because of like glass and things moving. I believe that is the story. But here is the story from, the great old internet. And this is by weirdus.com. They have a lot of paranormal stories. So go ahead and check them out. I am so sorry. I got freaked out. It's my dog. I should probably pick like a daytime to have this podcast. Um, One, maybe I'd get some more audience members because there's 0 people in the chat. But if you come and watch this later, please comment and give us some love, subscribe, watch our other videos. We'd love to hear your stories. So this is the story. Oxford Saloon. The gem of historic Snohomish is the Oxford Saloon. It was built in 1900 and for a decade was known as Black Man's Dry Goods Store. It then became a saloon, and over the years it has changed owners and users, but each owner incorporated Oxford in its name. When it was remodeled as a saloon, the owners added vestibule to the entrance with a stairway leading to several rooms on the second floor. These were supposed to be boarding house rooms, but there are rumors that a prominent local businesswoman named Kathleen or Catherine rented them as a high-class bordello. Ooh. She did not go into the saloon, but kept an office, at the local Eagles Lodge, where she made reservations for her high-toned clientele. Over the years, the Oxford Saloon was often the scene of violence, especially around the basement, a men's card room, and the bar. One well-documented killing was that of a policeman named Henry. He was a regular at the Oxford and may have moonlighted as a bouncer. One night, there was a fight, and when Henry attempted to break it up, he was killed and died in the melee. Henry seems to have stuck around and actually enjoys certain aspects of the ghosthood. He hangs around the stairs leading to the basement and has been seen many times in the ladies' restroom. I've been in that restroom. I have not seen a ghosty ghost. Thank goodness, because I would probably never use another public bathroom ever again. But back to our story. Um, Seen and felt as many women reported being pinched by him. However, Henry always disappears when confronted. So I used to get really freaked out about paranormal activity, and my parents didn't believe me. I think they did, but they always said it doesn't hurt you, or it won't hurt you. So I always confided in my big sister, and she always believed me. And to this day, I do believe that she's got psychic powers, and that's a totally another story. But anyways, I always used to talk to her, and the advice that she would give me is that if you ever feel like a negative presence, you tell it to go away, and you take back like your power, because it'll feed off of negative energy. So the power isn't with you, and you tell it to go away. Back to the article. The second floor of the Oxford is now rented out as offices, but at least three ghosts seem to remain from the Oxford's darker days. One is a man in a bowler hat, and the others are two women. Some people believe one is Catherine, who Oxford Saloon's Snohomish Haunted History Ghost Stories Haunted History. Oh, I'm so sorry. That was the name of the article. Eventually lived upstairs. So I'll reread that sentence. Some people believe one is Kathleen, who eventually lived upstairs. She is seen as an older woman dressed in a purple dress with purple bows. I love purple. Anyways, the other woman is Amelia, one of Kathleen's girls. Oxford Saloon Snohomish. Oh, again, it has that thing. So, ghosts who had been forced into prostitution. So, let me read that again. Amelia, one of Kathleen's girls who had been forced into prostitution. Her dead body was found curled up in her closet, and no one was sure whether she committed unliving or was murdered. Beginning in 2005, Washington State Ghost Society performed several investigations at the Oxford Saloon. Weird Washington spoke with Russ and Sandy, who were members of WSGs at the time, but went on to found FOG Paranormal. Sandy and Russ investigated the second floor first, turning on their tape recorder and started up the stairs. So a tape recorder is a really good way to get an EF or EVP, and you can actually do it on your iPhone. So if you don't have any equipment at all, you at least have your phone, iPhone or Android. I'm so sorry. Um At the time, Sandy said Russ take some pictures. When the tape was played back later on, they heard a male voice echo hers. A few seconds later, they heard a child's voice laughing or crying in the background. The manager gave them keys to all the office on the top floor. They tried several times to open the rooms, only to have the keys fall out of the lock, as if some unseen hand pulled it out before Sandy could turn it. Eventually, they managed to open some of the rooms. While this was going on the playback, they heard a voice say, "I dropped the keys to my room." It was as if they were being mocked. According to legend, Amelia lived and died in room 6. Nothing happened in that room during the investigation. Later, Sandy and Russ would rent the room as an office and reported the furniture being rearranged in it from time to time when they weren't present. That is creepy. That is way creepy. Can you imagine that? Walking into a room and your furniture is rearranged. Would you be able to sit comfortably in that office and work? Ugh. They entered room 4 and tried talking to any spirits. They later found they got a response, a strong male voice that spoke directly into the microphone and said, "I am the one." They left the second floor. They were followed by a voice that gave them a not so fond farewell, saying, "You'll die." Russ and Sandy met two other investigators downstairs, and after some conversations, they went down to the lower bar and then to the basement. At the bottom of the basement stairs, Russ took 10 pictures of the stairs with his digital camera. Now, I will say, and I have proof of this, which is another video, that you don't need a digital camera. You can do this on your phone. And I have, and my best friend has documented evidence of some really wonky and weird photos. Ironically, I think they relate to my late husband and my now husband. Again, another video. Anyways, um one of the pictures shows what looks like a man standing in front of the camera looking up the stairs. Another shows the man turning toward the camera. Because the photos were digital, a professional photographer analyzed them and determined it was unlikely that the picture had been altered when it was taken. At the end of the investigation, one group member used the bathroom. As he was relieving himself, he heard a man's voice whisper in his ear, "Get out." Remembering to zip up his pants, the man did as he was asked. And in the future, he always remembered to go before he arrived at the Oxford Saloon. Oh my God. How creepy. This also has some history about the Oxford Saloon and some other articles. It has a live band, it looks like. Um, so check it out. Uh, it's Oxford Saloon, Snohomish.com/haunted tack history slash. Okay, and some other haunted dining. No, but seriously, guys, would you be able to eat after having like a paranormal experience? Or would you be like really freaked out? Because me, I was really freaked out and I really needed that drink, to be honest with you. But some other haunted dining establishments are the Limp Mansion Restaurant and Inn in Missouri. It's got a Victorian charm, classic Sarai feel. Paranormal investigators have reported disembodied voices, sightings of unworldly figures in EFP. They don't know the origin, but some may suspect that it's related to the Limp tragedies. Another one is King's Tavern in Mississippi. It was built in 1789. And it looks like there's a myth of Madeline the ghost. Folks have gotten locked in the upstairs bathroom and it has no lock. Refrigerator doors have opened on their own accord. And this is even on video. But their signature dishes, like their brisket, flatbread, and chicken pot pie, is out of this world reportedly. Bacon thyme biscuit crust. That sounds so good. Bacon in a crust with pot pie? Oh, those gravy bits must be so good with that. Okay, next one. in the chat, if you go there, please let me know how that is. The Whitney in Michigan. The Whitney, a palatial building on Woodward Avenue, is a portal to the past in Midtown Detroit. It was built as a private residence in 1893 and after various uses over the years was transformed into the Whitney Restaurant in 1987. On the first floor, you can get a beef Wellington or go upstairs for dessert and cocktails in the witching hour. Oh, or have cocktails such as the witching hour, a martini with a touch of sweetness. Paranormal activity is not limited to the ghost bar. The elevator has been known to move from floor to floor with no riders, and several guests have spotted a crying woman dressed in white in the third floor ladies' lounge. Even the owner's son had an unexpected memento from his bachelor party here, a ghostly apparition caught in a group photo. That's creepy. Yay, we're getting married. What is that ghost? The Golden Lamb in Ohio is another one. Again, built in 1803. Looks good. I'm just going to go through a couple more. Four Quarter Bar in Arkansas. Again, if you guys been to any of these places, let me know. Chicago Chop House in Illinois. Brick and Ash in Massachusetts. Old Town Pizza and Brewing in Oregon. Ear Inn in New York. The Cruise Room in Colorado. Murals in Louisiana. It's in the French Quarter. And the Horse You Came In On Saloon in Maryland. So check out those places and let me know in the chat how they are. If you have a story, go ahead and email it to angelholdings84@gmail.com. This episode was brought to you by Off Market Real Estate. If you're interested in purchasing off-market real estate and you're an investor or you're a first-time home buyer and want a different option, you can always email us again at angelholdings84@gmail.com. All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time and have a spooky night.